Hi everyone, Peggy here from Peg and Pen, and I have a question. Do you ever struggle with painting white flowers? Do you like painting white flowers? I avoid them. I really don't like them. I struggle with them. So I challenged myself to try to figure out how to paint a white flower fairly simply. And I think I came up with a great idea. So I am calling it a reverse white flower. And grab your supplies and join me and we can paint some white flowers together. To create my reverse white flower, what I do is I start painting my leaves first. So I take a nice darker green and indigo and black combination of paint and get a nice wet brush and start painting the leaves on my page. What I'm doing is I'm painting my leaves first, and then we'll go back in to create the petals. But what I'm doing here is envisioning where will my flower placement be. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and start painting these leaves and add those on the outside of where I want my petals. And now I come back in with clean water and just start painting petals with clean, clear water. And as you see, I'm making sure that this wet petal is touching my wet leaves so I get the bleeds. This way the pigment will start to saturate into my clear petals, and this will create my white flower. Now I'm continuing on and making more leaves and allowing the leaves again to touch and brush against my water petals. And I keep going. And as you've noticed, I haven't put down a light sketch or pencil drawing. I'm just going with what feels good. I'm putting in my leaves and then I'm adding my petals as I go and really trying to keep them centered on the page, and that way it'll be a nice cohesive and balanced look. So keep going, keep adding leaves, keep adding your water petals, and as you see, it will just start pulling that pigment from those leaves into the petals and creating an actual color. And you'll notice in that first petal that I did, that first flower, you can see how it's already taking on a grayish, very light hue, which hence is my reverse white flower. And this works really well. So this way I'm getting just some nice coloring without me actually painting and getting a really dark color or messing up my my flowers in general. So I went ahead and I've done about my 3 or 4 flowers. I like the center of it, and it's a very monochromatic look. So you see that I'm now adding some reddish colored, just little flower buds. I tend to paint flowers in a sense of pretty looking petals with leaves and stems, and they're really not a true realistic flower, but they look real pretty when you put them all together. And so here I go, I'm painting some extra buds just to add some nice color, some visual interest, and giving it a little bit better cohesive and balanced painting. So I go ahead and put in my buds, and then of course we have to add our stems and leaves. And so what I do is I just go ahead and do lightly connect all those nice buds together, add some little stems, add some leaves, and just be painting away to fill in some gaps and just make it look like a really nice added interest to these white flowers. So go ahead and start doing that. I've sped this up so you can see what it looks like in the end, and just go ahead and keep painting and we'll see you in just a moment. And now that we're back together, I'm going to start adding a little bit of extra definition to these flowers. I'm going to fill in the centers and just add some nice center color. Obviously it'll give these flowers a little more depth and dimension and just really define the flower in and of itself. So I'm kind of using a orangey, dark orangey mix to put in the center and just dotting that in nice. And now my next step, I want this to be kind of a very winter Christmassy look. So I'm going to be adding my greenery. And what I'm doing is I'm adding the pine needles. And this, I'm doing it in almost a reverse way as well. I'm adding the needles first, and then later you will see that I do the stems and then we'll add the needles. But this way I wanted to kind of get an idea of where I wanted these to be and how far out, and it gave me a chance to really get my pine needles defined in the area that I want them. And then just fill those in. What I will do is add some extra curvature and add extra needles that go off. I'm surrounding my picture with more than just one or two. I'm getting a nice frame. And what you'll do is go ahead and you'll paint in your needles. When you're doing these, I use about 2, 3, or 4 different colors of greens, just in different hues, so that there's a lot more natural look to them, as well as always giving a little different shape. Some of my needles are longer, shorter, some are a little thicker, some are a little thinner, some are going in one direction where some are going in the other. So they look a lot more natural and are just really build upon each other. And they look really nice that way. So go ahead and start filling in your pines. And not only do I do it on the one side, but I balance it out and I'll put it on the other. And in just a moment, I will go ahead and start speeding this up so you can really get a look of what it's going to look like when all of these needles are filled in. And it really adds a lot of more emphasis to this composition, as well as it gives it a nice winter Christmas feel. So now that you have your greenery in, let's go ahead and come back into our flowers. And I've taken a 000 brush, so very tiny, and I'm just adding a little bit more definition on these petals. I'm defining where the petals are, some movement. I'm going to go ahead and just add a little extra wispies, little lines here and there, just to help give these petals some very distinct definite character and definition as to what they are, as well as it will bring a little more depth into the flowers as well. So we're going to go ahead and just start painting with that. And the color I'm using here is more with what the leaf color was, so it just kind of all still continues to tie together. So I just take a tiny bit of that paint and add to the leaves so that my flowers actually look more like flowers and not these off-white blobs in the center of my page. So go ahead and add as much or as little as you like, just to help create the definition, the flow of where your petals and how your petals are leaning. So there we are, and then I'm coming back into the middle, and let's add just a little bit more defining dots and definition into the center of those flowers. So keep going and keep adding what you like. I think you'll see that you just add just little bits here and there. Again, just helps keep those flowers looking like real flowers, and it just adds a little bit extra to your painting. So I'm going to keep going and make sure I get all of my flowers done. Add to that, and then you'll realize as I step back and I take a look at my picture, it's a little off balance. So now I'm going to go ahead and come back with that red mixture, and I need to add a few more of those little buds just because I'm off balance. And as you notice, a lot of times 3s are a very nice number to use in a composition. There's a lot of balance within the 3s, as long as you're doing them on one side and then the other. It just keeps a little bit more of a visual interest and keeps things a little bit more balanced and looking like things are as they should be, nice and cohesive. So I'm back in adding my little stems to these little buds, and then we'll add the leaves as well, and keep them going in just a direction that seems natural, so they're flowing down. I've got my painting upside down here to make it a little easier as I paint, but just add your leaves as they would probably when they were flowing. Let them flow down a little bit. Sometimes they might go off in a little different direction, but go ahead and just add what feels good. Add as many as you like. I like to add a little extra at the top and the edges just to help fill everything in and give it a fullness, but not too much. So go ahead, do what feels good for you, and just keep adding until you like what you like, until it looks exactly as you want it, and I think that will look good. And once I'm done here, I realized, you know what? This is a really nice painting. I've been very happy with it. It looks very Christmassy. You can do one of these by adding even other petals to not be so Christmassy, make it more spring, give it a different leaf instead of using the pines. But because I wanted to make this a Christmas and I had this nice blank space down below, I'm going to go ahead and just write in Merry Christmas. Generally, I use a light board on the background so that I can just trace my Merry Christmas or my lettering onto my composition, but I'm just freehanding it here and hoping that it'll all line up just nice. I was happy with the end results, but with my marking pen I went ahead and put in my Merry Christmas. If this is spring and you do, instead of the pine, maybe do some nice greenery fern leaves that come out, this would be great for a wedding gift, an anniversary gift, a Mother's Day gift. Change out the pines and maybe put in some pink buds versus red. It really is a lot more versatile than just a Christmas look. And I think you'll really enjoy what you've created, and I hope you do. Please share. Show me what you have. I hope you like this video. I hope you subscribe and save and share, and thank you for watching, and I appreciate you coming by. Now when you're done, don't forget to sign your work. We always want to have your work.